Guys, do you want to see what my current problem is? I think that I need to expand my home library. So the library goes from here to here to here to here. So there are 4 bookcases. I mean, this one is like half. So basically 3.5. However, I have this massive stack of books down one side of it. Like, there are so many books that no longer fit. And also look up here, like, it is getting a little out of hand. I did put these up almost a year ago now. That's not the point of the video, but actually it is kind of a smooth segue, because today I'm going to be doing the Bookaholics Anonymous tag, which is basically for people who are addicted to buying books. So I guess this kind of is me proving that I have the qualifications to take the quiz, that I'm well qualified, I'm well versed in this area of expertise. So anyway, let me set you up. There we go. Well, it's a little bit bright behind me, but okay, maybe let me move you. Okay, the other thing is that I'm also going to a book festival tomorrow. I'm going tomorrow, and so inevitably at that event I will be buying more books, and so the problem is only going to get worse. So today I'm going to be doing the Bookaholics Anonymous quiz. I've got the questions right here, courtesy of a blog called Words About Words. So basically there are like 6, 7, 8 questions, and I'm going to answer them. And basically we can just talk about reading habits, and you can let me know your answers in the comment section down below. So question 1 is, what do you like about buying books? I think for me, I will say, like, the reason that I opt for physical books over like having a Kindle or something like that is partly because I make content, and that means that it's often better for me to be able to show like a physical book. And I always worry that maybe BookTok or BookTube encourages a culture of feeling like you are only qualified to be a book lover if you are consuming physical books. And that's not the case at all. You know, you're just as valid a reader and just as dedicated a reader if you consume literature via ebook or audiobook, via library book, etc. So, you know, I'm always conscious of trying to engage with my hobby whilst also not making other people feel bad about not having the same size like book collection, because I do think that you have to consume all content with context of which it exists, and the context of which my content exists is that it's way more visually stimulating if I can hold up a book, or, you know, TikTok especially. On TikTok, you know, it works way better for me to be able to visually show something, be holding something, or to be flicking through the pages of something. So as a content creator and as someone who does this as my job, I do think I consume physical books, like I physically have and own more physical books because of that, for that reason. So I guess that's kind of some context, but also like the dopamine hit that I get from like going into a bookstore is not to be underestimated. The serotonin boost. That's not to say that you can't get the same thing from borrowing from a library or buying an ebook or an audiobook, but I really love that quote. I think it's Ronan Hessian who first said it, where he says he collects books like he collects wine, not necessarily to consume right now, so not necessarily to drink right now, if you're thinking of wine in that metaphor, but not to read right now necessarily when you're thinking about books, because sometimes it's about finding a book in a bookstore that we think, yeah, I know I will enjoy that at some point. Not necessarily today, not necessarily tomorrow, not necessarily next week or this month or this year, but I know that I will enjoy consuming this at some point. And so you kind of collect books and then take them off your shelves at the time when you think you will enjoy them most. So whether that's when you are able to get a weekend away, or when you have a day off from work, or maybe some books you want to read like before you go to bed. Some books may have seasonal appeal, you know, like you might think, oh, I really want to read this one in the summer or in the winter, but I'm seeing it now and it's currently the spring, you know? So I really like that idea that collecting books is kind of like collecting wine, you know? You are collecting them knowing that you will enjoy them at some point in the future. I think that's a nice idea. So anyway, next question is, how often do you buy books? I will say I do 2 huge book hauls per year. One at Christmas and then one halfway through the year. So I'm kind of approaching that right now, although I have to say I probably won't do that this year because I kind of have enough books on my shelf that I'm excited to read. Because I read a lot, it's my full-time job to read a lot, I do go through a lot of books, and like I said, I do like to have physical editions of them to show on social media. So I usually do 2 big book hauls a year. That looks like around 45 to 50 books at Christmas, but then, you know, if I read around, you know, last year I read over 200 books. By the summer I kind of need to refresh my supply because I've actually read through them all. And this is the thing, is that I do get through those books. They're not just ornamental. I know I use that wine metaphor, but I think that I know I will eventually get around to them in kind of the year that after buying them. But that being said, I've been very lucky to get more into the book critic, book reviewer space, and I'm judging some awards, the Sky Arts Literary Award and the Book Talk Book Awards, and so that requires me to read like 7 or 8 books for each thing, for the long lists, to then whittle them down to a short list, which then the public can vote on. So that's taking up some of my reading. I'm also working on a podcast, and so I'm now reading books by authors that I'm then going to interview, which is really exciting. And I also just hosted the International Booker Prize, and so I also read the 6 shortlisted books for that, as well as a lot of the long-listed books as well. So actually, more recently, I've been reading so much for work that I haven't been buying as many books, because as part of the job for those projects, I get sent the books, which is like such an exciting thing for me. So more recently, I haven't been buying as many books, but that's not to say I haven't been buying books, because I most certainly have. But yeah, the most recent book I bought was called The Ministry of Time, and I'm very excited to read that one. I bought it at a really cute independent bookstore in Greenpoint in Brooklyn. My dog's barking. I think he's locked himself out of the house. Hi, do you want to say hi to everyone? You've been barking so much. Do you want to say hi to everyone since you keep barking? Hi, it's the love of my life. Hey. How's your day going? Been very busy terrorizing the dog who lives next door, and you've been laying in the sun, and oh, and you ate one of my Pringles earlier, didn't you? Because I dropped it. So it's been a good day in the life of Archibald Edwards. Anyways, back to the questions. The next question is, bookstore or online book shopping, which do you prefer? So I browse occasionally online, and also I read a lot of articles of where people are talking about like the most anticipated books of the year or giving book reviews, and that's how I get a lot of my recommendations. But I am an in-person bookstore person, always. Nothing beats a good independent bookstore, right? Speaking of which, do you have a favorite bookshop? That's really tough. Like, favorite in the whole world? I'm gonna say favorite in Paris is Galignani. Favorite in London is Daunt Books. I also recently discovered the London Review Bookshop, which is also incredibly nice. That could be a contender for a new favorite, but I do think Daunt Books just reigns supreme. I also really like Foyles. It's tough. It's tough to pick. It's like picking your favorite character from Friends, except none of them are Ross. It's like if Ross was out of the equation. And then in New York, I really like Greenlight's Bookshop. All of the McNally Jacksons are so nice, especially the one at Rockefeller, the one in Williamsburg, and the new one in Soho is also really lovely. Okay, I'm not doing very well here because I realize I'm listing many bookstores, but they all have their own merits, you know? Topping & Co. in Edinburgh is really bloody nice. And Armchair Books as well, that's lovely. The Hay on Wye Bookshop, the Festival Bookshop, is always really fun too because it's a really lovely curated bunch of books. So the answer to your question, do I have a favorite bookshop, I guess is no. I have favorites, but no one single favorite of all time, because all bookshops are good bookshops, in my opinion. Now, before I carry on, I would like to tell you about something else I absolutely love, and that is listening.com, who have very kindly sponsored today's video. This app has changed my life for the better because I do a lot of research for my job, both when scripting YouTube videos, planning podcast episodes, which are coming next month, and also writing my book, because my book is very research heavy. Now, imagine if you could turn PDFs, academic texts, recipes even, into an audio file that could be read out to you by the app. Well, that's what listening.com does. And that's so great for when you want to just listen to something, like when you're at the gym, when you're cooking, when you're cleaning, when you're walking somewhere, but also when you just need a change. You know, if you're always looking at print in black and white, my eyes get tired, okay? And sometimes I feel cocooned like a little baby, having someone reading it to me, you know? And that's what listening.com does. It also has some great features. For example, there's a note-taking feature. You just tap plus notes, and then where you are in the text will be turned into a note for you to refer back to, which is so helpful. Another great feature of listening.com is that because it reads out words to you, if there are any words you're unfamiliar with, it will read it out to you with the correct pronunciation. So then you feel confident going out into the world and using that new vocabulary as part of your vernacular, you know? Which I'm very grateful for because I love learning new words and improving my vocabulary. So if all of this sounds good to you, you can use my link to sign up to listening.com down below and you will get an extra free week. Thank you listening.com for sponsoring this video. I just honestly, this has changed my life for the better, because if I had had this when I was a university student, oh, that would have made my life so much easier. But I'm reaping the benefits now, so it's okay. The link is down below, go check it out. Okay, so the next question is, do you pre-order books? And actually, the answer is no. I don't remember the last time I pre-ordered a book. In fact, that might even be a complete lie, because I think I do remember the last time I pre-ordered a book, and it was The Testaments by Margaret Atwood, which I think came out in 2019, and then I ended up hating it. So I was such a massive fan of The Handmaid's Tale, like one of my favorite books of all time, and it's actually weird because reading The Testaments almost ruined my opinion of The Handmaid's Tale, because now when someone asks me my favorite books of all time, often The Handmaid's Tale isn't one that I think of, whereas it used to be. It used to be so firmly in that list, and now it dwindled a little bit because I feel like a lot of the things I loved about the book, like a lot of the unanswered questions, a lot of the open-ended questions were answered in the Testaments, and I kind of wish they hadn't been. So yeah, it was the sequel to The Handmaid's Tale, The Testaments. It did go on to win the Booker Prize. It shared the prize with Bernardine Evaristo, which is an interesting decision. But anyways, yeah, that was probably the last book I pre-ordered, which was a long time ago. I don't know. I don't think that... I would just go to the bookstore and buy it, you know? I usually just go on release day, and I know that's really bad actually, because book pre-orders are very helpful for authors, so I should do it more. I should pre-order more books. In fact, this has been a lesson to me. I feel like I'm having a revelation right now that I actually should be pre-ordering books, because they really help out authors when you do pre-order. So instead of waiting till publication day, I need to start pre-ordering books. Okay, noted. Let me know in the comment section what the last book you pre-ordered was, and is pre-ordering something that you do regularly? Because I don't know if everyone knows this, but pre-orders count towards week 1 sales of a book. And of course, it also tells publishers and the industry how many books, it gives them a rough idea of how many copies a book is forecasted to sell and to shift, you know? When you see like the book charts, week 1 sales, week 1, includes all pre-orders. So if you had 6 months of pre-orders, every single pre-order over those 6 months will be included in week 1 sales. So that's why it really helps out authors in terms of charting and getting their books noticed like by the industry and recognized in that context. But also it tells the printers, it tells the suppliers, it tells bookstores roughly how many copies they are expecting to sell of that book. So pre-ordering is actually only a good thing. I feel like I need to give myself like a slap on the wrist, like I should be pre-ordering more. Well, if there's no takeaway from this video other than that, the takeaway I guess is that I need to pre-order books more often, more regularly, and I will. I might even go and do a pre-ordering session right after this video. So actually, the next time I buy books is going to be this evening. It's going to be as soon as I turn this camera off. So yay, that's fun. The next question is, do you have a monthly book buying limit? No. The limit does not exist. And that's all I'll say on that. Maybe I should, but I do not. The final question is, how big is your wish list? Was anyone wondering where I was going with that? How big is your wish list? The question is, how big is your wish list? Okay, well I can actually tell you because I have it on my phone. Because I take pictures. I mean, come on. If you go to the bookstore and come home and your phone camera roll isn't full of pictures of books that you want to buy, did you really go to the bookstore? I think no. So let's have a look. Here's a bunch I saved. Shall we go through them? Okay, so Ripe by Sarah Rose Etter, Wandering Stars by Tommy Orange, Natural Beauty by Ling Ling Huang, Users by Colin Winnett, Reboot by Justin Taylor. I have some questions for you by Rebecca Mackay. I actually ended up buying that one and reading it, so that one we can scrap. I guess I just didn't delete the picture yet. Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. I've heard so many amazing things about this. In fact, my housemate was reading this book and was like, you have to read this, like this is incredible. So that's very high on my wish list. Grief is for People by Sloane Crosley. My Favorite Plant by Jamaica Kincaid. This is Writers and Gardeners on the Plants They Love. I thought that would be so interesting because I feel like I don't know enough about plants and horticulture. I thought this would be really interesting to benefit my writing, you know, because I try and reference plants sometimes in my writing, but my knowledge of them is relatively small. So I think they can be used really in a myriad ways for writing metaphorically, symbolically, Oh, I also have The Creative Act, A Way of Being. I've been listening to this as an audiobook, but I would love the physical copy because it is a really beautiful book, and I think it's one I would like to refer back to as well. Like Love, which is the new book by Maggie Nelson. I love Maggie Nelson's writing, so I need her essay collection for sure. Who's Afraid of Gender by Judith Butler. Pre-Study by Patricia Lockwood. My Work by Olga Ravin. Osama Jazai's Self-Portraits. I've read No Longer Human and The Flowers of Buffoonery by Osamu Dazai, and I want to complete the trilogy. Cult Classic by Sloane Crosley. Actually, on this trip where I went and took these photos, I did buy this one, so that one I guess I can delete as well. The Shards by Bret Easton Ellis. Did you know that Bret Easton Ellis and Donna Tartt went to college together? Isn't that crazy? Like the minds, the brains in that one institution at one time. Crazy. Murder Your Darlings by Roy Peter Clarke. This is a helpful book for aspiring writers, so I really want this one. Monsters, A Fan's Dilemma by Claire Dederer. Alphabetical Diaries by Shaila Hetty. I read Pure Colour by her, really enjoyed it. Would love to read another one of her works, and I think this is very experimental. So intrigued by that. This picture, not sure I was trying to take a photo of. I think this might have been by accident, but who knows. Oh, and then this is just a picture of the bookstore that I was talking about earlier, the McNally Jackson in Williamsburg. I love this one so much. So the reason I love McNally Jackson so much is because they categorize a lot of their books by region. So if you want to, you know, it's quite good if you realize that you have blind spots in your reading, if you have areas that you've never read from, regions you've never read from. So for example, I realised I hadn't read enough Australian literature, and so you can go to the shelf of Australian literature and kind of see what takes your fancy, and I think it's a really fun way of dividing up a bookstore. So yeah, that's a fun one. And when I went travelling around Asia last year, you know, I wanted to read a Taiwanese book, so I went to McNally Jackson and went to the Taiwan shelf and found Ghost Town, which I really ended up loving. So yeah, I think those are all of the questions. That's my bookish wish list right now. But thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a lovely day. The sun is shining gorgeously here right now. It is just beautiful. So I hope that the sun is shining where you are as well. And thank you so much for watching this video. Have a wonderful day. All the best. Stay in touch. Bye-bye.